Welcome to another edition of Dodds and Ends. I'm Amber Wilson, and joining me on the phone is CBSSports.com's college football writer, Dennis Dodd. All right, Dennis, so it's been a historic week in college football. First, we had Tim Tebow winning the Heisman as a sophomore, something that's never happened before. What does the future hold for the rest of this guy's career? Give me good news, Dennis.
Well, it's going to be interesting, Amber, to see how a guy coming back defends the Heisman. We've actually had that recently. Matt Leinart did that a few years ago when he won it as a junior and came back as a senior. But Tim Tebow is a different animal. There's never been a guy like this who ran for 20 and threw for 20. I think what we're going to see next year is a better Tim Tebow and a better Florida, because they're going to have a couple of go-to tailbacks coming in that will take the load off him, one of them being Emmanuel Moody, who was a big-time recruit at USC, sitting out his transfer year, and by all accounts will be the starting tailback next year. So that'll take the load off him. So I just think that makes him more of a passer. I think that makes him more dangerous, and it keeps him healthy. As we know, all these rushes, he had a national high for a quarterback, 194 carries. He did bruise his shoulder against Kentucky, and they lost that next game against Georgia, and we all know he broke his hand in the last game of the season against Florida State. Now that's going to be healed for the bowl game, but I know the Florida coaches don't want to go into a season having to rely on him to run the ball 194 times again. So I think we're going to see more of his passing skills next year. He did end up being the number 2 rated passer in the country as well. So I think this guy just gets better.
All right, good to hear. Another unprecedented event down in Fayetteville. Bobby Petrino becomes the head coach at Arkansas 24 hours after coaching the Falcons on Monday Night Football. All right, maybe it's not that unprecedented for Bobby Petrino.
Well, less than 24 hours. Bobby Petrino literally was on the floor of the Georgia Dome at Monday Night Football telling the Falcons owner, Arthur Blank, that he's committed, he's ready to go, he wants to get this thing turned around. And next thing you know, that night, he calls Arkansas and says he's ready to come, and the next day he's at Fayetteville calling the Hogs. So people want to label this as some sort of trend, whether pro owners will be reluctant to hire college coaches again. I don't think so. I think this is absolutely exclusively a Bobby Petrino thing. There's never been anybody like him. A guy, this is like Nick Saban times 10. Or Lou Holtz times 10. If you want to talk about job hopping, this guy has walked away in the last year from two contracts totaling 15 years and $49 million at Louisville and Atlanta. And now he's going to be making, I think, probably 2.6 or something like that at Arkansas. But for how long? I think in the short term, it's a great hire for Arkansas. They'll get a good coach. They'll get a good offensive coach. He'll turn it around. But at what cost and for how long? This has all the makings of blowing up the program. If he leaves after a year or two, then where do they go? So the short answer is it was one of those reprehensible acts by a head coach in football history, I think.
The Arkansas jobs filled, but there are still a couple of big vacancies out there. Michigan, UCLA. Are these jobs close to being filled, Dennis?
Starting to be. There's rumblings early this week that Michigan may now be going the NFL route, whatever that means. Maybe a head coach we don't know about. Or a big-time assistant, a coordinator. Those are the rumblings I'm getting early in the week. UCLA now is trying to interview Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Norm Chow, who's just one of the best at what he does in football, college and pro. He was behind Vince Young at Tennessee. He was behind Matt Leinart at USC. He was at BYU for, I think, 18 years, shepherding a number of future NFL quarterbacks and Heisman Trophy winners. So I think they'd be very lucky to get him. UCLA has problems with pay. They don't pay a lot. I don't know if that's an issue with Norm Chow. Number 2, admission standards. There's a reason they're getting their butt kicked by USC in recruiting. USC's winning, yes, but UCLA can't get in a lot of players that other schools can. I think that'll change in some respect for the new coach. So I think Norm Chow would be a great hire. He is 61. But I think his energy level, I think he's got 10 years left in him. He's that good.
All right, so both of these teams are heading to the Bowls despite disappointing seasons. Bowl season starts Thursday the 20th. What games are you looking forward to the most?
I had number 1 on my list this week. I wrote about it on the site. I really like Georgia-Hawaii. That's my number 1 bowl to watch, just because of what Boise did last year, the potential for an upset. You've got this only unbeaten team in the country traveling 4,000 miles to play an SEC power, basically on their turf. It's in New Orleans, but that's SEC territory. I think people want to see how that matches up. I mean, it's a very sexy matchup with Colt Brennan in his last game. Georgia, making a case to play for the national championship. I don't think they were quite that good, but they were good at the end. And we'll see how this defense stacks up. That's a really good game. I think the other three games in the BCS right now are as bad as we've seen in the 10-year history. I mean, I know we'll all be excited by Ohio State and LSU when that game comes around for the national championship, but we can't even agree on who should play for the national championship this year when you've got teams like Virginia Tech and Kansas in the Orange Bowl and a really crippled West Virginia and Oklahoma. I don't know, maybe I've been around too long, but those don't boil my blood just yet.
All right, thanks as always, Dennis. And of course, we'll look forward to hearing from you throughout the bowl season. That'll do it for us for now. Keep your mouth at CBSSports.com for everything you need to know in the world of sports. For Dennis Dodd, I'm Amber Wolf.